Welcome back. I'm Chris.
Yeah, I'm Chris.
And this is Chris Greenhill's Garage. And in this episode, he's actually going to do something and help a little bit. And for some reason, it's April and winter struck again. And we're cold. And my face is cold from shaving. Your face must be cold all the time.
Average.
Good for you. This is the final push to fire up Project White Trash. Bless you.
Sorry.
Stop sneezing. You're ruining the video. This is the final push to fire up my car, my 1988 Ford Mustang GT Project White Trash. In this video, over the next week or so, we're going to install the fuel system, the cooling system, and make a few tweaks such as rerunning the electronics and the battery cables. So hopefully here in a few weeks on my birthday, we can start this thing up and hear it come to life for the first time in 26 years. You're a terrible person.
I just don't want you to have a good birthday.
You're a terrible person. All right, that's it. We're going to lie on some concrete floors and freeze to death and get this started. Thanks for watching. First thing we're going to do before I forget again for like the fourth month in a row is we're going to tighten down the drive shaft safety loop. I installed this by myself, so everything's just kind of hand tight. I needed someone underneath the car to help me tighten it, so we're going to knock that out real quick.
Do the one next to it.
The one next to it. All right. Cool. Here's the gas tank I'll be using. It's just a stock 79 to 93 Mustang gas tank. The guy got it from welded in a sump. I've added on the 3/8 barb connectors for the fuel lines. I just realized there's some rust up here on the fuel sending unit section, so I just sprayed a little black on it. And I've just realized I can't actually install it because I don't have a vent cap. And I'm not going to install it and then uninstall it. So I guess this is not actually going in today. But anyway, this is the gas tank I'll be putting in here soon. What we will do, since we can't install the actual gas tank, is we're going to go into the car, get all the electrical lines run, and we're going to go ahead and run the fuel lines where we want them from the front to the car to the back of the car, and then figure out, we'll just leave them untrimmed. I'll leave them uncut. Then when I install the fuel tank, I'll cut them to length. We're going to try to get under the car and get some of this stuff done. It's a couple hours later, and I thought I was about to install my gas tank because I found my vent. This tank does not have the rubber grommet, so that's going to have to wait till another day. Still. Future Chris here. I just want to point out something that I'm going to get called out on. I am using 8AN push fit style fuel lines for this build. I'm also using 3/8 barb connectors and regular hose clamps for this. Do not do this. Okay, especially if you're running fuel injection, it's not going to work. The fact that I'm probably only going to run 5 psi of fuel pressure will work fine. This stuff is not made to use a hose clamp to go over a barb fitting and be hose clamped into place. This isn't true 3/8 barb. This is 8AN. It is different. There is a little size difference. You have to fill this gap by clamping it extra tight. I am not fond of AN fittings. They're unnecessary and overpriced for most applications, especially mine. I'm just giving you a disclaimer. Don't do this at home. It's not the proper way. Thanks. Here's the fuel line I'm using for white trash. It's the steel internal braided rubber line with the nylon braid on the outside. This is what I'm using. Junior and I just wasted like an hour running this fuel line from the pump. I brought it all the way around under the radiator support, tucked up under the radiator, and around over the fender, over the tires on the other side, and it wasn't long enough to reach. So we had to take that all apart, and now we're going to try to run it on this side, back to the fuel tank over here, run both lines together. And yes, I'm using hose clamps as fuel clamps for now because I don't have enough of the rubber insulated cable protectors right now. These are just kind of placeholders. After entirely way too long, way too many struggles, way too many screw-ups, we have finally got our fuel lines run. The regulator is just sitting here. I am going to mount it here, but we have our, from the tank to the pump coming here, fuel regulator. We've got them both coming up this way. I had Christopher mark the return line with red, and we just got them run all the way back up along the frame rails. And I'm back here to the back where the tank's going to be, and I can't believe it, but we barely had enough fuel line to do this. These are going to run off here, and I'm probably only going to cut maybe 2 feet off of each one. I really thought I'd have plenty of extra slack. Now I don't think I have enough slack to even go from the return regulator up to the carburetor. Time for a parts store trip in Junior's car. Let's see if it cold starts today. What on earth? This again. What is going on with this thing? I don't think it's drawing fuel very well. What is going on with you? I forgot that the choke and the idle mixture set it for 85 degrees, and it's 40 degrees today for reasons. I've adjusted that. Let's see if it starts. Started first try, but jeez, battery's feeling weak again. Good times. We run some errands. Let's see if it'll start normally this time. Perfect. What's wrong with you? What is the deal? That's how it's supposed to start every time. It's how it's been starting lately. We went to the parts store. We got a vent tube we're going to use to be able to vent this. This grommet was supposed to fit. It was pretty close. It wouldn't. I tried to cut it, modify it. It won't fit. I'll just have to order a new one online. But that pretty much brings an end to our day. Nothing else we can do. I'll be back in 3 or 4 days to work on it some more. It's several days later. I have to work here in a few minutes, but my pack of grommets came in. It's the same pack I ordered for Junior's car. Hopefully, one of these is going to fit this gas tank. We are in business. Hopefully I'll be back tomorrow to install this thing. I am back to install the gas tank. Junior is in school, so I'm on my own. Hopefully I can just bench press this thing up into place. If I can't, I will never hear the end of it. The boy is ruthless. Just like with Junior's car, in place of the crappy gas tank bolts that are always too short and too difficult to get in, we're replacing it with all thread rods. Much easier. I just discovered after struggling to get the all thread in that we got the wrong all thread. I'm not sure that happened. I'm guessing I just didn't pay close enough attention and it was in the wrong spot. So that's not going to work. I'm going to go back and try to put the stock bolts back in. Struggle with that for a while. Eventually I'll give up, go get my kid from school and go buy the correct all thread because I can never get these things in. I did not pay close enough attention the last time I was under the car. Here is the stock gas tank breather still connected to the factory vacuum line. I don't even know where that goes. I thought this thing just vented out the side. That appears to be a hard fuel line all the way to the front of the car somewhere. I'm not sure where that thing goes. I guess I need to figure that out and take that off here soon. For now, it's just going to hang here. As is always the case, I have the gas tank in place. I have everything lined up. No matter what I do, I cannot get this short little bolt to reach to thread. I'm crushing the top of the tank and it still won't reach. I have no idea how I ever did this. I'm gonna have to go to the store and buy the proper all thread. This is not gonna work. Yeah, I've absolutely crunched the top of the tank and pushed, and I just cannot get that thing to thread. I give up. Time to buy all thread and do this correctly, the way Ford should have done it from the factory. I managed to knock a bunch of dirt and debris into my eye and try to blind myself. Always a good time. No wonder the bottom of the car looks so well preserved. It is absolutely coated in grease and oil. Completely forgot that the reason I took the engine out is it had rear main seal issues and oil pan gasket sealing issues. And the whole car is just coated. I'm not going to get new all thread rods till I go get my daughter later. So that leaves me with a little bit of time to mess with the cooling system. You can see I sat the radiator in here and kind of mocked it up. And there are some issues. I don't know if you can tell this, but this thing barely sits in here. This radiator sits nearly an inch low and can just pop out of the radiator support. And it's a few inches wider than factory. Let me see if I can get a good view of the brackets. There are the brackets this thing is supposed to sit inside, and it doesn't. So, even though it came out of a Mustang similar to this, and I bought it off the guy, off his car, he must have had it modified somehow to sit in here, because this thing will just pop out of the radiator support, whereas Chris Jr.'s factory radiator sits in here perfectly fine. Here are those cheap Chinesium hoses that I ordered months ago. If you watched my engine building video, you knew how long it took me to get this on and how much I had to trim it and cut it to fit. Well, these aren't much better. This is too long. This is actually crimped in the back from being compressed. This thing is hitting the alternator blades, which that could be because the radiator's sitting down too low. If I lift the radiator up that inch, everything's fine. So I've got to come up with some way to mount this radiator properly. And what I plan to do is the fan and the fan shroud are ultimately going to decide where the radiator sits exactly. Because I need fan shroud clearance more than anything. I am both impressed and disappointed with myself at the same time. I actually spent money on a brand new fan clutch and fan blade and fan shroud rather than just getting secondhand, hand-me-down junk online. I mean, it's going to cool really well, but it just feels so wrong to have spent money on that. And yes, I am a big fan of the stock or stock replacement cooling systems on these cars. These fans, these fan shrouds, these clutches, they do an amazing job. I'm willing to sacrifice the 5 to 10 flywheel horsepower to make sure the car runs cool all day, every day. This came with this. I can't remember if I have to put this in or not. Pretty sure it's a spacer to space the fan blade back off of the clutch. I don't remember. I'll have to play with it. I feel a little bit better. I forgot that I had penny pinched and gotten a free fan shroud with this radiator. So, and of course it's got to have broken bolt holes up top to make it interesting. So I feel better about myself there, knowing I didn't spend money on that. Kind of makes up for spending money on the other new stuff. Anyway, here's everything kind of mocked up, and that actually clears, but barely clears the top. A lot of room at the bottom. That means the radiator definitely needs to come up at least half an inch. Oh man, I probably got 2 inches of clearance in the bottom. That may need to come up a full inch, like I said originally. The good news is solid motor mount, solid transmission mount. We shouldn't have any flex. So really, this clearing right here is probably enough, but I'm not going to leave it like that. I'm going to go ahead and lift this thing up and mount it properly. I can't easily show you, but if I lift this thing up to about where it engages the radiator support fully up top, that is about where I have even clearance all the way around. But it needs to scoot over some because I don't have even side-to-side clearance. And the radiator is not even with the radiator support. So it needs to go over and it needs to come up. And I'm not sure I'm getting any of this on film. When I lift this up where it's supposed to be, I get plenty of alternator clearance. So I've got to do two things after I remove this radiator. I'm going to have to find something to put under here to lift it up, roughly 1 inch. Maybe I can find some kind of rubber pads or rubber stoppers of some sort. And then I'm going to have to find something to keep it from coming out, falling out underneath the support up top, which means I'm probably going to have to weld in some kind of bracket to come around to this. Which means I get to have all the fun of taking this all back apart again just to mock that up and mount it. The only thing I don't like about the stock fans and clutches and shrouds and all that is the juggling act of trying to loosen the shroud and hold it up and remove the fan and then take them both off together. That's a pain. Chris Jr. and I have actually devised a plan to split the shroud in half and mount each half of it separately to the radiator, mount the bottom half permanently, make the top removable so we can do all this without having to mess with it. Going to put some kind of latch or hinge here, some kind of bracket to tie it together that you can take off from the outside. Pull the water bottle, disconnect it, take the top of the shroud off, leave the bottom of the shroud in the radiator so that we can actually function a little bit and not have to juggle this all the time. Hopefully that's coming soon. I'm thinking something very simple to keep the radiator in place. Something like just tack weld this little piece of metal here, just a vertical bracket, just to keep the radiator from sliding backwards. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do about lifting the radiator up. My plan is to get like some 1 inch thick rubber screw-on stoppers, like rubber pads, like door stops or furniture feet or something like that, and just drill those in, screw those in down there. The reason I came up with that plan is I own a bunch of those somewhere. I have a very vivid image in my mind of the last time I saw them, but I can't find them. I can't imagine why. Anyway, to the parts store I go. I could just drill and tap a bolt hole in here, run a bolt down, and make a pretty much infinitely adjustable radiator support. But with my luck, the bolt would puncture the bottom of the radiator and leave me stranded. So I guess I'll spend the money on some rubber stoppers of some sort. I could not find what I was looking for at my local parts store or hardware store. Here's what I came up with. These are 2x4 brackets for mounting 2x4s to things. That will give me 1/2 inch of elevation, and if I put something like a piece of padding on top of this, that can give me more if I need it. But I can take this, weld or self-tapping screw that thing into place, set it there, set the radiator on top of it, and see how that looks. Just those brackets by themselves might be perfect. This is fully engaged. When you tighten this down, it's sitting on there nice and firm and solid. I think all I've got to do is just mount those things and I'll be done. I forgot that the boy took the welder to school. Believe it or not, he's coming along so well welding, they let him take our welder to school and do projects there. He is currently taking an AP art program and doing welding sculpting. So I don't have my welder. So metal self-tappers are inbound. Fabrication level 10. If this is exactly what I need and this works out, I'll probably tack weld those and paint them once the welder gets back. The radiator is rattling around quite a bit inside my radiator support up here. So I found these two old pieces of rotten old pipe insulation. I'm just going to lay them in here to keep that from rattling and knocking. Listen to that beautiful silence. All right. Plenty of clearance all the way around. And with solid motor mounts and stuff, this thing shouldn't be going anywhere. That should be good permanently. There's the used overflow bottle installed along with my brand new cap. So I need an overflow hose and a radiator cap. But time to put the hoses back on and start actually getting this thing ready to hold coolant. That could be an issue soon. That is as close as it looks on camera. If this hose expands, I've got problems. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. I really thought lifting the radiator up more would fix that, but it didn't. Oh well, that's a future Chris problem. Freaking Chinese hoses. The hose ends are opposite. It needs to go like this on the engine, but the opening sizes make you put it on like this, and then it crinkles up and doesn't want to reach. Ugh. Cooling system is all set and ready to go. Minus one hose clamp. Can't imagine why I'm short hose clamps. Weird. One of those things we may never know the answer to. Now it's time to get back to doing the thing I want to do less than anything else on earth. The fuel system. I was all fired up to do this earlier, then I got under there and couldn't get it done, and now I don't want to go back. At least I have the proper studs now. Well, in theory anyway. It is insane how easy this gas tank install is when you do it correctly and have the right equipment. Seems I spend most of my time fixing the things Ford screwed up 40 years ago. Or at least it would have been easy if I didn't have these freaking battery cables in the way. But that's on me. I screwed that up. I've got to take them out and remove them. It's crazy how easy and fast this is to do one-handed if you spend the money. I think it was $6 to convert this to studs, and I'm done. I had already decided to pull the battery cables and run them through the car anyway, and I'm glad I did because the fuel sending unit comes up through here and there just wasn't enough room, and then the battery cables were crimping on the fuel tank and not allowing it to go into place. I have my fuel lines measured and I've taped the two ends. I'm going to cut right in the middle. The tape will keep the braided line from fraying and coming apart. I'm just going to cut right in between the two sections of tape on each one. Cut-off wheel took about 2 seconds each. Left a nice smooth cut. Oh, you can see the metal and rubber still smoking. You can see there's a little bit of rubber residue in there from where I cut everything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other ends off and I'm going to blow compressed air through these. That way I'm not putting any rubber in the tank or in the carburetor or anything else, just in case the fuel filters don't catch it. Turns out I actually have plenty of extra fuel line. You can see from the regulator to the carburetor, I'm going to have nearly a foot extra. Same down here. I'm probably going to have an extra foot from the fuel pump to the regulator. I'll cut those off. That'll be good because I need to cut them anyway to put I'm going to put an inline fuel filter between the pump and the tank, and I'm probably going to put one between the regulator and the carburetor just to be safe. And there we are in all its glory and splendor. Red for return, black for fuel pump. Got the lines run all the way front to back. Like I said, I do need to mount a fuel filter back here, and take this line and I'll mount the fuel filter up here, and I'll use a little bit of that extra slack, extra little bit of line to extend this a little bit. I think what I'll do for the fuel filter is I'm going to mount this right here in front of the fuel pickups. Just mount this on the bumper rail, and then I'll run a short little piece of line to the fuel inlet. That should work. I do not have time to finish up everything I wanted to do today. I'm out of time. But what I did was I ran the wiring harness that was draped across here, tucked it in the fender, taped up all the wiring I'm not going to need, zip tied it up out of the way, and I'm only going to run the wires I need out the holes in the fender. This will probably actually get scooted over to here. And then the jump start thing will go over the hole. But anyway, I got this stuff tied up out of the way, and I'll get more zip ties, and I'll get some actual brackets and put up there so it stays out of the way of the shock and the tire. But anyway, it looks a lot cleaner, at least in this corner. The wire tuck looks a lot cleaner. I just realized my cooling system is not sealed up and ready to go. I completely forgot about this. It's my temperature gauge. I've got to find some kind of adapter to mount this into this somehow. Dang it. Or at least I've got to figure that out if I want a temperature gauge, which I do. I mean, I've got plugs I can just stick in there and water seal it, but I really want to know the temperature of my engine. That would go over here just fine, but I need that for my heater hose later. It's frustrating. So close. I thought I had something there for a minute, but I don't. This is a piece off a carburetor. I was going to drill that out. The temperature gauge would go into this, but it's not an adapter for that. Dang it. I have dozens and dozens of fittings that'll all screw into there, but none of them will accept the temperature gauge. I'm about to lose my mind. I know recently my local parts store didn't have anything, but I guess I'm going to have to go back and try again. Super close. If I can weld the two silver ones together, that might actually work. Well, I'll have to cut the prong off that, but super close. It's the next day. Thanks to Stephen Holtz from Just Drive It for getting me a part number on the adapter I need. Supposedly a parts store about 30 minutes from here has one in stock. Hopefully I'll be back in a little while with one of these, and I can seal up the cooling system for the final time. I've been hard at work all morning, but it's about time to get out of here. I've got a bunch of stuff I have to go do. Not a whole lot of changes. I ran some wiring. I tucked some wiring. I got my battery cables in from the back of the car. I haven't mounted them yet. I've got to go. But I tucked this wiring harness. Ran my ground strap, mounted it permanently. Pretty much got all of this wired up the way it's going to be for the most part. It's not beautiful, but it's functional. Got my jump port here wired up. Got my ignition wired up. I got my two gauges wired up. I mean, where they're going to be wired. And here in a little bit, hopefully I'll get the adapter for this. And that's about it. Oh, and I finally remembered to go through and Teflon tape the inlets and outlets of my fuel pressure regulator. I took it apart here a while back and just threw it back together and never taped it. That would have been bad. Of course, it's probably not going to work. It's been sitting for 30 years and I forgot to order a rebuild kit for it. So one of two things is either going to happen. It's either going to just return all the fuel to the tank and provide nothing to the carburetor, or it's just going to regulate nothing and send all the fuel to the carburetor and deadhead it. Either way, I'll work with that, whatever happens when it comes time to start the car. I'm already realizing that I'm going to need to mount this MSD a little bit further out. It needs to be spaced an inch or two just because the slack in this wire. I accidentally bumped the distributor and I pulled this apart. That's not going to work. Even with solid motor mounts and all that, I can't have that just popping off if I brush against this stuff. So I'll have to make some brackets and space this out. I figure an extra inch and this thing will be fine. Right now the distributor stops right there. Should be plenty to time it, but I don't want to risk it and I don't want to pop this loose. It's later in the afternoon. I am back from the parts store, hopefully with the stuff I need to finish this. I got the adapter I need for the temperature gauge, but I had to buy an entire kit. What really sucks is that my gauges over there were supposed to come with one. And the way I know that this was going to fit is I opened up a box of those gauges, and my stuff, that set of gauges had one of these in there. Mine was supposed to have one of those in there, and it didn't. So that's why I'm in this boat. But anyway, finally got the adapter. I'm going to put some Teflon tape on that, seal it up, and I'll be done with that. Some Teflon tape and we're done. That was extremely annoying, but at least it's done correctly and it shouldn't leak. Last hose clamp is on, and that should seal up my cooling system completely. Oh yeah, I forgot about you. I'll get a radiator cap in the next couple of weeks before I fire it up, I'm sure. Alright, the fuel lines are connected. The fuel filter is mounted with the ever versatile hose clamp. And that is it. I am done underneath the car with the fuel system. I genuinely thought I was all done, and then I snagged the starter agitator wire off, tugged it, and popped it off the starter. So now I have to get in there and try to get that nut off and bring back the connector and rehook this thing. Feel a little bit better. I guess I never actually hooked this up. I just had this barely touching in there, and that's why it came loose when I pulled on it accidentally. And I didn't have it hooked up on this end either. It's just sitting there. So I'm going to run this and get them both hooked up. Rewired everything, hooked up the battery cables, and I'm getting 12 volts to the jumper here. But my MSD box doesn't seem to be getting any power, and I'm not sure why. I double checked all the connections and I can't find a problem. The hot wire going into the MSD has 12.5 volts. The ground wire is grounded. I've confirmed that, but I can't get the light to come on. I'm not sure what's going on. Pretty frustrated. All I did was just adjust some things around just a little bit. Everything's got good ground. Everything's hot. I'm not sure what's going on with this thing. Triple check that everything's getting power. Even the starter's getting power. The starter clicks every now and then and won't fire. I don't know what's going on with it. Everything's grounded really well. Really confused. I have triple and quadruple checked everything, and all I'm getting is a click out of the starter. Not sure what's going on. Well, this big wire here, which is my main power wire that goes into the dash, into the key and all that, is only transmitting 11 amps right now. I'm guessing something is wrong in here, so I guess I'm going to take it all apart and check that. Alright, well, for the first time today, my MSD box lit up. Now it's turned back off. There it goes. When I pull the trigger to try to activate the starter, the MSD does have power now. This wire here was only transmitting 11 volts throughout the length of it. Now it's back to 12.5. I kind of pushed some connectors back together and it's transmitting. But the starter still isn't trying to fire. I'm super confused, but also super happy. I went through and I checked everything for the 5th or 6th or 10th time. Exactly all the same. Nothing was loose. And suddenly I come over here. Yes. Oh, thank God. I was really getting nervous there for a while. Well, that's probably going to do it for now. I've got a whole list of stuff I've got to do, but I got everything rewired up and everything permanently connected. So I think that's going to be the end of this. I will hopefully be back next week to finish off the next round of stuff to do to get this thing to work. Talk about nerve-wracking here at the end. The last two pieces of this particular puzzle are here. Got the radiator cap and you got the fuel pressure gauge for the fuel line. So there's no longer a big gaping hole in the fuel rail. I didn't actually mean to get the liquid filled gauge. Maybe it'll be okay. I don't know. I hate the way it looks sitting at that angle, but whatever. I've dug through all my drawers of random junk. I seem to be out of any material from which I could make a suitable bracket for the MSD to space this out. I guess I'm going to have to go buy something. I got some more 2x4 fence connectors. I'm going to run over here, and they just barely fit behind this MSD box. I'm going to drill them, and I even got some little rubber grommet pads for vibration dampening, hopefully. And here we go. It is neither perfect nor beautiful, but it's secure. I've got the rubber feet in it, hopefully for a little bit of vibration dampening. And most importantly, it allows our distributor to go turn to turn. Well, if there wasn't a fuel line in the way, allows it to go turn to turn all the way over and back without pulling this harness loose. So now I'll be able to time the engine a lot easier. That's it. I'm done. There's nothing else going on this week. I'm going to start the next phase of my project to get white trash running probably next week, but I probably won't put out any kind of video until Saturday, May 3rd. That's the day I'm hoping and praying this thing is going to start up, fire and idle, and do all the car things I've been waiting 26 years for. If that doesn't happen, you may never know about it. I don't know, but hopefully it's going to start and run on Saturday, May 3rd. It's probably the next time you'll see either one of us. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.